On the issue of the rate of reoccurrence of child abuse and neglect, that's no longer being used as a measurement of success by the Ministry of Children and Family Development in its service plan.
In the service plan.
It's been taken out of the service plan, and you have no further targets to reduce that. I'm just wondering why that is.
We continue to track it. It's simply not in the service plan, and we report on it publicly on the website. Whenever we change performance measures that are in the service plan, which we do from time to time, we don't let them drop. And we don't stop using them. There's a limit to what you can produce in the service plan. It was my belief that our service plan ought to begin to change to more directly align with what we're doing with practice change and with strong, safe, and supported. It's important that we move in concert with a strengths-based developmental approach, and that our performance targets reflect that kind of a change. So it hasn't gone away. It's still tracked, and it's still reported on publicly. It simply isn't in the service plan document because you're limited to the number of performance measures you can choose.
But now you have no performance measures that are based on child safety, that relate to child safety in the service plan.
And that reflects the shift in approach that the overall ministry is taking, consistent with Hughes, in that we have to look at a developmental approach that gets at beyond simply the child apprehension end of what the ministry does, right? If we're simply responding at the tail end of when things have gone wrong for a family, we're not accomplishing what we need to. So this is part of that. None of those things still get tracked, but our service plan is what guides us in terms of our future work. And as Hughes laid out, we have to change in our ministry. This is a change in philosophy, it's a change in practice, and it focuses on analyzing and assessing the strengths of families, their need for support, and doing that in a really holistic way, and our performance measures reflect that.
So this has nothing to do with the fact that the rate of recurrence has gone up since, I think, 2005, 2006?
No, in fact, if that were the case, then it wouldn't have been, I mean, if that was the argument that, oh, you're just trying to get rid of it, we wouldn't be publishing it and we wouldn't be reporting on it publicly. It's there for people to take a look at. It simply isn't in the service plan because we're trying to pull out those things that really reflect strong, safe, and supported, and really reflect a strengths-based developmental approach.
And that's why you don't have any
That's why we have some new measures
any future targets for reducing that rate.
Well, it's one measure that you look at, and certainly we continue to track it, but we have to be looking at things that, well, for example, taking a look at how many children are still in school when they've made that transition from grade 7, and are they still in school when you look at grade 10? Now, that's a new measure that we're looking at, and the reason we are is because the research tells us that if you want to track whether or not a child is engaged in school and whether they're going to do well in a whole other range of areas, you look at whether they've made that transition successfully from grade 7 to grade 10. That's an example of new research that tells us we ought to be tracking something different. Rate of recurrence is still there, still reported publicly, but we've chosen performance measures that better reflect the work that we're doing as a ministry and better reflect best practice.